Moving on to business news now, the central bank points out that the Employees Provident Fund has powers to invest in the share market, including in the banking and financial sectors. The bank noted that the EPF, as the country's biggest fund, has provided attractive returns to its members.
Issuing a press release, the central bank states that its monetary board has been entrusted with the responsibility of managing the EPF fund. The bank points out that the monetary board can invest EPF money in the stock market. At present, the EPF's investment in the banking sector in the stock market is around 1%. The central bank says that the EPF has invested in other sectors, including construction and engineering, manufacturing, hotel and travel, telecommunication, and diversified holdings in the Colombo Stock Exchange. The Sri Lanka-Russia Business Council held its annual general meeting in Colombo yesterday. The chief guest at the event was the ambassador of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Mikhailov.
We should build our relations on normal, commercial, mutually beneficial basis. This is the point. Our cooperation should be mutually beneficial. I explained the same to your ministers and even to His Excellency President. Because I should be honest, I should not promise something which will not be fulfilled.
The Kotanti Rural Hospital is the nearest hospital for those residing in 20 rural villages that come under the purview of the Mundalama Divisional Secretariat in the Puttalam district to go to. Over 150 individuals visit this hospital to receive treatment on a daily basis. All the resources are available at this hospital. There is water and electricity as well. We are faced with a shortage of doctors, however. There is only one doctor. He can only take care of the dispensary. He cannot prescribe drugs to patients on certain days. The clinic is conducted. Incidentally, several midwives serve as nurses at the hospital. On the days clinics are held, they perform the services of nurses. A new ward constructed at the cost of 4 million rupees for in-house treatment was declared open in March 2005. Furthermore, the hospital has facilities to treat 24 in-house patients as well. We are very happy that we received a ward in our village. However, we are very sad about the fact that this ward has not been in operation despite being constructed 5.5 years ago. Area residents have to travel to the Puttalam or Chilla hospitals in order to obtain in-house treatment despite having a ward that has not been used for 5 years. A further 1 or 2 doctors need to be allocated to this hospital after taking into consideration the money spent and the space available. The department needs to provide what is necessary for the hospital to function. There is no point in constructing buildings alone. Will the authorities finally comprehend that patients are not going to benefit from buildings that are simply on display? Health Minister of the Northwestern Province, this is over to you.
Welcome to the News First International Desk. Making headlines tonight, last US combat brigade exits Iraq. And also, India accuses Pakistan over border firing. Taking a look at the details of these stories now. The last US combat brigade in Iraq has left the country 7 years after the US-led invasion.
According to a military spokesperson, the 4th Striker Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division began crossing by land into Kuwait in the early hours of today. Some 50,000 US troops will remain until the end of 2011 to advise Iraqi forces and protect US interests. A further 6,000 support troops will be in Iraq until the end of the month when US combat operations will end. Striker Brigade's personnel drove out of Iraq in a convoy of armoured vehicles. The journey along potentially hostile desert roads had been carefully planned for weeks. The US military restricted journalists embedded with the brigade from reporting on its movements until they were almost at the border. State Department spokesperson P.J. Crowley said the U.S. involvement in Iraq was far from over, but that it would be less intrusive and more civilian-focused. Crowley said the U.S. had $1 trillion investment to protect in the country and wanted to honor the memory of the 4,415 U.S. troops who lost their lives in the conflict. At one point, the U.S. had 150,000 troops in Iraq. The independent monitoring group Iraq Body Count put the number of civilian deaths since the invasion at between 97,196 and 106,071. The 50,000 soldiers who will remain will be armed but will only use their weapons in self-defense or at the request of the Iraqi government.
Joining us now from the United States is Geetika De Silva, who filed this report on the withdrawal.
The last brigade of U.S. combat has been withdrawn from Iraq, bringing combat operation to an end in a war that has lasted for more than 7 years and claimed the lives of more than 4,000 U.S. troops. The brigade that left the country early this morning, 2 weeks before an August 31st deadline for the end of Operation Iraqi Freedom, pledged by Barack Obama on taking office. Over the course of the week, soldiers from the 4th Stryker Brigade, 2nd Infantry Division, have driven hundreds of vehicles from Camp Victory near Baghdad Airport to Camp Virginia in Kuwait. Their withdrawal brings to an end a controversial and a bloody operation that began with the American Shock and Awe bombing campaign of Baghdad in March 2003 and saw the U.S. military endure some of the heaviest fighting it had seen for a generation. This is Geetika De Silva reporting for News First from New York, USA.
Now moving from the United States to the South Asian region, India's army has accused Pakistani troops of firing across the line of control that divides the disputed region of Kashmir.
India said its troops had retaliated to the unprovoked firing in Poonch district. Pakistan has not commented as yet. India says there have been over 150 ceasefire violations since 2006. The two countries struck a ceasefire in the year 2003. Militants have been fighting Indian rule in Kashmir since 1989. India's army said the firing took place across the Krishna Nagari sector of Poonch district early today. The line of control separates Indian and Pakistani administered Kashmir. He said the Indian troops retaliated to the firing. There were no casualties on the Indian side in the firing. India has accused Pakistan of unprovoked firing aimed mostly at facilitating infiltration of militants, a charge Pakistan has denied.
Good evening and welcome to Sports First. Starting off, let's take a look at some cricket news. Rain had the final say in the fourth match of the triangular series as the one-day between Sri Lanka and New Zealand was abandoned at the Rangiridamalu International Stadium today.
Kumar Sangakkara, Sri Lankan captain, and Alan Hurst is the match referee.
New Zealand won the toss and opted to bat first, although not a single delivery was bowled today owing to incessant rain in Dambulla. The umpires assessed the ground conditions on several occasions before it was decided that a final decision would be made at 8:17 this evening. Yet with continuous rainfall at the Rangiridamalu International Stadium, the decision to abandon the match came early. Therefore, Sri Lanka will take on New Zealand in the fourth match of the tri-series, also involving India, tomorrow at the same venue.
Following a recent controversy, Suraj Randeep was suspended from the fourth one-day international against New Zealand, which was to be played today but was postponed for tomorrow owing to rain. His match fee for Sri Lanka versus India match was also forfeited according to the official website of Sri Lanka Cricket. Former captain of the Sri Lankan team, Arjun Ranatunga, expressed these views regarding the incident.
In one way, I will say if Suraj Randeep was advised by the cricketers or someone, or if he deliberately did this, I am sure that it is not proper cricket. But on the other hand, he hasn't done anything wrong. If he has done something wrong, I am sure that match referee might have got involved and have an inquiry, and after that he might have given the punishment. I am very surprised to see our own cricket board punishing 3 of our cricketers. For what? For whatever happened in the middle. But what they should have done, they should have waited till the tournament was over and had an inquiry, discussed with the cricketers, and they should have advised the cricketers. And the worst part is, What is the reason for our cricket board to go and apologize to Indian Cricket Board? These are the things it has not happened in the past. But we looked a very cheap quality, especially the Sri Lankan Cricket Board looks a very cheap quality. I'm sure that they are under influence by the Indian Cricket Board. And the important part is, when these things happen, who takes the responsibility? We are a laughing stock. While doing all these things, a lot of foreign cricketers, a lot of foreign people must be laughing at us, because that when we put wrong people into these jobs, I'm sure these things, we should expect these things. I'm sure the government should take the blame on this.
In other cricket news, the unofficial test match between the Sri Lanka A team and the South Africa A team ended in a draw today at the SSC grounds in Colombo, despite Jeevan Mendis taking 5 wickets for the Lankans.
The Sri Lanka A team, who were comfortably poised on an overnight score of 485 for 3 in their first innings, surged ahead thanks to the efforts of Kaushal Silva. Silva belted 4 boundaries on the way to an unbeaten 70 runs, thereby capitalizing on the performance of Dinesh Chandimal, who made a double century, and Dimuth Karunaratne, who contributed 184 runs. The Sri Lanka A team declared their first innings on 543 for 4 in reply to South Africa A team's first innings score of 345 all out. The South Africans resumed their second essay on a positive note, courtesy of opener Stephen Cook, who made a half-century, and Dean Edgar, who top-scored with 78 runs. But with Jeevan Mendis showing great talent with the ball to end with figures of 5 for 74, the visitors were restricted to 220 for 6 before umpires drew stumps, and the match ended in a draw.
Sri Lanka emerged runners-up in the 2010 Asian Beach Volleyball Tournament after the team was defeated by New Zealand in the finals in China. New Zealand clinched a comprehensive 2-0 win over Sri Lanka, with the final scores standing at 21-19 and 21-18. The Sri Lanka team, made up of Mahesh Perera and Vasanta Ratnapala, are due to arrive in the island this evening. This is incidentally the first time Sri Lanka has secured such a victory in the International Beach Volleyball Tournament.
Thank you, Shasta, for bringing us the very latest from the world of sports.
Well, that's it from the News First team for tonight. If you want to follow up on any of the stories that we just had, you can always log on to www.newsfirst.lk. I'm Ravi Gamage.
I'm Mahina Bongzo. It was a pleasure having you with us here as always. Take care and good night.